The regions throughout the mainline Pokemon games feature an interesting variation of towers. Some are relatively pleasant to be around, others are straight up graveyards for Pokemon, and a couple just feel like the construction workers took a day off as they could crumble at any moment. And it's for those reasons that today I've decided to rank all the towers in Gens 1 through 9 according to how frightening they are. Now, why am I doing this, you might be asking? I don't know, I've done similar videos with other locations in Pokemon, and it's just fun to do. With that said, I'll be basing today's rankings off of 3 factors: how tall each tower looks to be, what kind of entities inhabit the place, such as ghosts for instance, and how safe each tower is to climb. Depending on these attributes, each tower will get placed in one of 3 tiers. Starting at the top with nothing to fear, meaning it's a relatively risk-free tourist attraction, then moving down to might give you chills, as some things in the tower may be a little terrifying, and finally, feels like a horror movie because everything about it screams the fact that you shouldn't be in there. By the way, as usual, I'll be looking at how each spot appeared in its original game, so for example, no Lavender Radio Tower from the Johto games, or Battle Tower in Gen 3 and onwards. Anyways, make sure to hit that sub button as it really does help out the channel, and without further ado, let's rank every tower in Pokemon based on how scary it is. There's no better way to get things rolling other than with the Pokemon Tower, arguably the most iconic out of any game. As I'm sure you know, this building plays home to various ghost types, as well as a graveyard for Pokemon, which doesn't bode well when it comes to being placed highly in these rankings. Not to mention, if you don't own a Silph Scope, then the Wild Mons look even scarier. There's also the crazy Channeler trainers who look and sound like they're straight out of a horror movie, as they say the weirdest phrases. So although the Pokemon Tower doesn't look super tall compared to others, and it doesn't have any natural hazards that make climbing it more dangerous, it still starts things off in the bottom tier. Kanto's only other similar building is the Trainer Tower, which lies north of Seven Island. The main purpose is to allow the player to challenge a wide range of trainers in a various set of modes while they work their way to the top. Nothing's really scary about that though, as, you know, battling is a common thing in the Pokemon universe. Now from the rooftop it looks to be pretty high up, but there seems to be a nice protective wall that, unless you're 9 feet tall, you probably can't even see over, so the Trainer Tower deservedly reaches tier number 1. Surprisingly enough, Johto contains more than double the amount of towers as Kanto, including the Sprout Tower. Now sure, wild Gastlies can be found here, but the thing that scares me the most is the shaking pillar in the middle. Apparently this is meant to be like that, and it supposedly even protects the structure from earthquakes, but I don't care. Being on the top floor and watching that thing sway back and forth would definitely give me chills. And hey, we haven't seen an earthquake hit Violet City, so Sprout Tower is the first in Group 2. Heading over to Goldenrod's Radio Tower, disregarding the time when Team Rocket takes the place over, it's got nothing to fear. Just a bunch of radio shows going on, and even though it's 6 stories tall, the top floor is completely enclosed, so you don't have to be worried about falling off. Ecruteak City houses a pair of famous towers, starting with the Burn Tower. It's a shame that we never got to see it in all its glory, as now it just looks like this. A giant hole in the ceiling and debris laying everywhere. I'd say you'd still have to be cautious when traversing the area, as those wooden planks will look like they could break at any moment, so that fact alone keeps the Burn Tower out of the top tier. Right next to that is the Tin Tower, as that's what it was known by in the Gen 2 games. This place features a whopping 10 floors plus the roof, but the cool sage dudes don't just let any random person inside, so I don't see anything wrong with it. Okay, aside from the wild Gastlies. Yeah, those will give you some chills. Not far from Ecruteak is the Olivine Lighthouse. While the inside is relatively safe and the trainers aren't a problem, the only way to reach the top is by jumping down a few of the gaps in the floor. I mean, if I had to make those jumps, I'd probably get some chills, so the Olivine Lighthouse finds itself in tier 2. Rounding out Generation 2 is the Battle Tower, and guess what you do in here? You battle! Whoa, no way, that's crazy, I would have never guessed that! Anyways, yeah, it's very similar to Kanto's Trainer Tower, which it'll join in the Nothing to Fear category. The Mirage Tower sits in Hoenn's Route 111, and for starters, if you don't have a Mach Bike, you're cooked. This is of course due to the tiles of crumbling floor that you encounter on your way up. So not only does that make it a little risky, but remember when you see the Mirage Tower sink below the sand? Yeah, imagine you were inside of it when that occurred. See, nah, that's something that would take place in a horror movie, so straight to tier 3. The sky pillar is in a similar boat, as the floor is also unstable at times. And yeah, you might break a leg or two upon falling, but that doesn't render it to feel like a horror movie, so let's just throw it in might give you chills. On the other hand, Sinnoh contains the unique Hollow Tower. Yes, this little piece of stone is considered a tower. Obviously, you can't go inside of it, but did you know that there's a creature inhabiting it that is made up of 108 human souls? Yeah, don't know about y'all, but that just might sound like something right out of a horror film. And things don't get much better inside the Lost Tower. Oh great, it's not very high, but it's yet another graveyard for Pokemon in which ghost types live. You just know people are getting jump scared left and right, so there's no question about it landing in Group 3. On the bright side, Sinnoh is also home to the Vista Lighthouse over in Sunny Shore City. This building isn't very tall, and there's not even trainers or dangerous holes in the ground like the one in Olivine, so there's nothing to worry about. Unova's first tower is unlike any others. You see, the Unity Tower is utilized to connect with players from the 130 countries that are recognized by the GeoNet system. If you interact with a player, then you can visit their respective rooms, as each floor in the skyscraper represents one player. So yes, this means that the Unity Tower is home to 131 floors if you include the lobby. This would rank it second in the world in terms of the most floors in one building. So yeah, I think I would get some chills when climbing to the top. It doesn't get any better with the Celestial Tower, as it continues the trend of being a place where dead Pokemon rest. Not only are there inherently ghost types roaming around, but look how tall it is, man. The rooftop sits above the clouds, and that little guardrail can't be any more than 2 or 3 feet off the ground, so I wouldn't be surprised if someone took a tumble off the side. I mean, let's be honest, that could be something that a stereotypical dumb horror movie character does, so it's right back down to the 3rd tier. North of Icarus City is where the Dragon Spiral Tower is located, and despite its music being an absolute banger, it slides into might cause chills. This is because, fun fact, it's the oldest structure in Unova, which you can easily see on your way up. The place is falling apart, there are 0 safety precautions, and wild Golets reside here, so I think it does just enough to land in the horror movie group. Not much needs to be said about the Black Tower, as it's on the same line as Kanto's Trainer Tower and Johto's Battle Tower. Pretty similar concepts, so it ranks at the top of the list. Transitioning to Kalos, the Lumio City Gym is actually considered a tower, which I guess makes sense because it's based off the Eiffel Tower. Anyways, battles obviously take place here, and there's only 6 floors. Clement also seems like a chill guy, so he would never let anything bad happen to the place, so the Lumios Gym slots itself in Nothing to Fear. The French-based region also plays home to the Tower of Mastery in Chalor City. No wild mons can be found here, and the path to the top features nice, proper safety rails, so it joins its Kalos counterpart. One tower I didn't really know about is the Megalo Tower. Granted, I've only played the Usum games once. Matter of fact, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. Nonetheless, this is where the Ultra Necrozma battle happens, which is something that no regular human wants to take part in, so yeah, straight out of a horror film. Hopping over to Galar, the Rose Tower stands at over 1,000 feet tall, which isn't too crazy when you put it in perspective. All that goes on here are Pokemon battles, and to be honest, it's more boring on the inside as opposed to frightening, so tier number 1 it is. Galar's other 2 spires, the Tower of Darkness and Waters, can both be found on the Isle of Armor. They don't really have much of a difference other than what you want your Kubfu to evolve into. A couple battles is all these spots have going for them, so they end things off in Nothing to Fear. Yeah, Gen 9 doesn't contain any new towers. Come on, Paldea, you're slacking. But with that, we have ranked every tower in the mainline Pokemon games. To be honest, it's a relatively even spread across the tier list, which is good to see. You've got the towers that would be cool to check out, and the ones that you'd want to stay at least half a mile away from. As always, I had a ton of fun putting this one together, and I hope you guys enjoyed it just as much. If you want to support the channel further, consider becoming a member, as you get some cool perks like videos early and receiving a shout out on the outro screen. For now though, have a great rest of your day, and until next time, deuces.